Hello there. So, Dave here again. We are in the book of Ruth, one of my favorite books in the Old Testament and in the Bible as a whole. If I was going to recommend a book of the Bibles for someone who's never read any of the Bible, I would probably point them right to Ruth. Now, obviously, there's a lot in there that you need the book of Leviticus to understand. Once you learn a lot about Ruth, you understand more about what happens in Revelation as well, for that matter. Ruth's story takes place with Naomi and her husband and her two sons when they are in a famine in the land of Israel during the time of the judges, and they have to go to Moab because that's where they think they need to go to Moab. That's where they end up going. At any rate, they're not supposed to intermarry with the Moabites, but that's what they end up doing. And then Elimelech and his two sons die. Naomi is left with um, daughter-in-law, two daughters-in-law, Orpah and Ruth. Now, Orpah decides to stay back at home, and Ruth goes back with Naomi back to Israel. In chapter 1, all of that happens. It's pretty amazing story of just love and faithfulness, and dedication, and family between daughters and mothers, and all of that. It's pretty cool. Chapter 2, Ruth finds it's like she stumbles upon a field to glean, and Naomi meets Boaz, who is a kinsman redeemer. Now, this means that when the land was laid bare, no one was there to take care of it, there is ownership rights to a nearer kinsman. So it's obviously God orchestrates everything in the book of Ruth. It's pretty amazing story, and it's hard not to go through verse by verse and teach it right now because I love it so much. But the fact that Ruth goes into this very field that Boaz is there, this could be very likely the same field that we see David and his sheep in later in Samuel, possibly the same field that we see the shepherds in the story of Jesus' birth. Pretty much the same area of Bethlehem, very likely the same field since ownership rights stay in the family. At any rate, chapter 2, Ruth is working as a gleaner. You can tell that Boaz takes a fancy to her. He likes her. He thinks that she's doing a great job, and she's obviously a very good daughter-in-law to Naomi. Anyway, so Ruth in chapter 3 says, I need to take care of Naomi. So Ruth goes to Boaz at the threshing floor and says, "Will you take your role as kinsman redeemer and take care of my land?" It also means to marry her. Now, Boaz, of course, has no problem with marrying her, even though she's a Moabite. He's in love with her at this point. But there is a near kinsman. There is someone else that has rights before he does. So he has to go secure that. And chapter 4, that's what that is. It's the climax there. The near kinsman says, I'm good. I don't need to, mess up my own redemption and all that. Possibility is he just didn't want to marry a Moabitess. That's possible. At any rate, they end very happily there. Ruth marries Boaz. It's a very beautiful end there, and they have a child who ends up, Ruth and Boaz are the great grandparents to David, king of Israel. So this book was probably written after David is, king, because they reference that at the end of Ruth. So it could have been Samuel or someone else later added a portion to the back of it. But anyway, the story of Ruth, one of the best parts of the Bible, talks about just the rights to the land, ownership going to the kinsman redeemer. This is why in Revelation chapter 5, when you get to that, we had to have a son of Adam coming to redeem the earth. That's the whole thing there. He was the only one worthy to unbreak the seal, the title deed to the earth, and come back as a redeemer, our redeemer, not just our personal redeemer on the cross, but the redeemer of the whole earth, as it has been under a curse since the beginning. So we'll get into Samuel, start getting into the life of Samuel and Saul and David and all the kings of Israel. It's pretty exciting stuff coming up. But again, Ruth, study it with a good concordance. If you want to get a good book to read, this is by Francine Rivers, called Unshaken. She has about 5 of these. It's a series that she does on all of the women, Tamar and Mary and Bathsheba, that are in the line of David. It's pretty neat. She's got your Tamar, Rahab, Ruth, Bathsheba, and Mary. This one is, of course, on Ruth. But these are good books to get a hold of. They're short reads and fun. That's it for Ruth. Hope you have a great day and continue to study the scriptures. Like and subscribe and all that good stuff. God bless.